is Saturday, January 11th, and you know what that means. It is time for the High Risk Wrestling podcast. Sorry about that. Coming to you, I'm your host, Jeremy Pierce, looking at this week of wrestling. It got better because Raw was disappointing, but check that out in the recap. Check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, the 215 on Twitter, and of course the Patreon of today's show. We're going to be looking at crossover events, joint shows, talking about it. Seems that we had one really big one go down this past Sunday, and just what they're about and why they're important. But for now, you know what's next, so just go on and hit my music. All right, the first episode list of the year. What is it? Well, these are the companies that should do a crossover event joint show. And we start with number 5, NXT and TNN. Yes, this has been going on. They have been exchanging talent, working back and forth, and they've worked some of their shows, but they haven't actually held a true crossover event. They haven't had a true joint show. Imagine Jordan Grace versus Stephanie Vicaire. Imagine the Hardys versus who's the current tag team champions. I actually don't know. Fraxium. You know what I mean? Imagine Moose versus Obafemi. Like, they could really knock it out of the park with this one. Number 4, WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, this may never happen because New Japan works with AEW very closely, but I know that the WWE is, they're global, but honestly, they're not really touching Japan. And what better way to get your foot in Japan, even though they do go to Japan, is to really run with Japan's biggest company, one of the greatest companies ever, in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Imagine the things you can do, and more importantly, getting some of the guys that used to work at Japan in WWE, like AJ, like Shinsuke, like Bronson Reed, who had to stay in Japan, and coming back and showing the new school what they can really do. Number 3, Ring of Honor and NXT. This would work for a plethora of reasons. You have a lot of great veterans in Ring of Honor, like Dustin Rhodes, like Mark Briscoe, like Shane Taylor, who can really help some of the younger talent. And I would definitely love to see some of the women go at it. Most importantly, Athena going back to NXT and showing who she truly is, who she really is, the forever champion. Number 2, TNA and AEW. Now, this could have happened, especially during the pandemic, and we really did do a little bit of stuff, but that mainly focused on Kenny Omega. But imagine TNA and AEW really running a joint show. Give me Moose versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Give me the Hurt Syndicate going back to TNA and showing who they are. Samoa Joe going back to TNA, and then the new guys in TNA and the new girls in TNA showing what they are all about. I would love to see the Young Bucks versus Ace Austin and Chris Bay once he gets better. This can be nothing but good. And number 1, the obvious, AEW and WWE. This will never happen because who would you have to lose? And you can make it like a Fight for the Fallen show, where it's a fundraiser, and just flip a coin backstage. The show isn't canon and it's all about good fun, but boy, oh boy, I'd be salivating at the things they can do. AJ Styles and Seth Rollins tearing up in an AEW. Seth Rollins versus Kenny Omega. Okada versus Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? Rhea Ripley versus, take your pick. Oh my God, Rhea Ripley versus Chris Statlander would absolutely murder. And you can have Mercedes Moné show the WWE that they really should have banked on her. Oh my God. This event would kill, and it sucks that we're never going to get it. We'll be right back. The spotlight is back, it's bright, and it's shining on one Penta El Zero Miedo. He will be making his debut this coming Monday on Raw, probably facing Chad Gable. And there's one thing that the WWE cannot do with him. Do not put him with any Latinos. Yeah, they can rub shoulders backstage, but I swear to God, if they put him with the LWO or Legado, you failed him. This guy is one of the top talents in the world, and he will succeed in WWE because he knows how to have fun. Just watch him dance, and he'll get Zero Miedo over. But ultimately, I do not want him to be neutered. I don't want him to be pigeonholed and to tone down his style of work. Yes, he's going to have to incorporate some WWE things into his style of wrestling, but let the man go and let him just put on great matches. Him versus Shinsuke, versus Seth, versus AJ when he comes back. Like, this is going to be a whole new experience for Penta, and I'm hoping he succeeds, and I want him to succeed because they have to do right by him until his brother Rey Fenix comes in, because Rey and Penta are going to absolutely tear it down, salivating at the potential Lucha Brothers versus Motor City Machine Guns tag team match. But do not fail Penta, WWE, because the spotlight is on him now. You're putting him on Raw in front of these millions and millions of fans. Don't screw this up. Ladies and gentlemen, I love wrestling. And the one thing that I love about wrestling is all of the promotions that we have. And if you look at what we have right now today, we've got WWE, AEW, New Japan, TNA, AAA, CMLL, Rev Pro, Ring of Honor, NXT, GCW, NWA, MLW, and it goes and goes and goes. We've got the top companies, and then we've got the independent companies, and there's just a lot. And the one thing that I wish some of the top companies did more was interact with each other. I know it's a business thing, but you can always do a fundraiser, and we can have a joint show. So what is a joint show? A joint show is where two companies come together to run an event with talent from both companies facing off each other, or maybe even teaming up. Think, obviously, the top one right now is Forbidden Door. But these things should happen. We've had a bunch of joint shows over the many, many, many years in professional wrestling. Some have failed, some have succeeded. And I would very much love for them to continue. We've had some from the early days of professional wrestling. We have some from today. And a joint show is important for the fans, and you get to open their eyes. You get to really expose them to talents that they're not used to. So why they're necessary? Well, we just discussed that. We've had talents being exposed. I can tell you this, that I knew of New Japan and kept up with New Japan, and I knew the usual names at the time. Okada, Tanahashi, Naito, Evil, Zack Sabre Jr. But I didn't know of a bunch of other talents until the Forbidden Door happened. Because now I love me some Shibata. You know what I mean? I love, the Bullet Club. And we knew about the Bullet Club because the Bullet Club was the biggest faction in the world at that point. And the Bullet Club helped expose me to Finn Balor, AJ Styles, the Good Brothers, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, even after, the mix with the Ring of Honor. Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. So these things are important and necessary to mainly expose fans to talent that they would never see or that they would not go and look up. Now, we've had some forgotten partnerships. We've had some shows where you're like, wait a minute. That happened? That happened? And let's touch on that. And I'm going to deviate to a company that does their research, who also helped open my eyes. 2011, New Japan, All Pro, and Noah, probably the three biggest companies in Japan, worked together. Who remembers this? They put on All Together, which featured a lot of multi-man tag matches, a teaming up between the stars. Like we had New Japan's Tanahashi team up with Noah's Go, Shiozaki, and All Japan Suwana go up against Shinsuke Nakamura. And All Japan's Kenzo, who was formerly Kenzo Suzuki, and Noah's Takahashi Shigura. This was a show that really helped celebrate a lot of things. How about in 2014? Do you remember Impact and Wrestle One? This was Bound for Glory. This was part of the Bound for Glory show, and they had a match, a simple match. It was James Storm teaming up with the Great Sonata. Not teaming up, but a main event of James Storm, the Great Sonata, Tajiri, and actually, what's that? Tajiri and the Great Muta teaming up that goes against James Storm and Muta's former protege, Sonata. We had in 1994 AAA and WCW when Worlds Collide. Who remembers this? Like, it wasn't even legally available at all, but Mike Tenay called the action, and we had Ray and Psychosis and Conan and La Parka going up against top talent. We had Art Barr, we had Eddie Guerrero. This was crazy. How about Ring of Honor New Japan War of the Worlds? Do you remember that one? Do you remember Kevin Steen, Mr. Wrestling, going up against Shinsuke Nakamura? Do you remember that? This is something that definitely should have been bigger than what it was, because if you go back and look at that card, this went down in the mid 2000s, and it was a great show. It took place in 2014. I want you to no, not 2014. Let's go to the first. Let's check out. So 2014 was the first War of the Worlds, and they had 5. I'm not gonna say 5 more, but they ran many War of the Worlds up until 2019. Let's look at that first card. Ready? Caprice Coleman defeated Hangman Adam Page, who had Jimmy Jacobs in his corner. ACH. Oh, that guy. Matt Taven and Ciampa defeated Alex Kozlov, Rocky Romero, and Takaki Watanabe. The Decade, BJ Whitmer and Roderick Strong defeated Gaito and Jado. Jay Lethal defeated Kushida. The Bullet Club, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson defeated the Briscoe brothers. Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Kevin Steen. Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Michael Bennett. Red Dragon, O'Reilly and Fish, defeated the Young Bucks. Adam Cole beat Jushin Thunder Liger, and AJ Styles defeated Kazuchika Okada and Michael Elgin. That show sounds fantastic. That's how you do a successful show, because those were big names in the business, big names in the industry at that time for 2014, and a lot of those people I named went on to be huge stars in this business. So as you can see, it can work. Do we have a few others? Of course we got a few others. We've got AWA, NWA, and WCCW run a Super Clash in 1985. We got New Japan and WCW. Starrcade 91 in the Tokyo Dome. Tatsumi Fujimi defeated Ric Flair for the NWA World Championship. Like, great stuff. We had ECW, FMW with the year-end sensation. We had Impact and Lucha Underground. Impact and Lucha Underground. Lord, I miss Lucha Underground. They ran a fantastic show that featured top talent from both companies. How about we dive into that card real quick? First of all, this took place during WrestleMania 34 weekend and was shown for free live on Twitch. We had LAX defending the Impact Tag Team titles versus Killshot and the Mac. Who's Killshot? That would be Swerve and Willie Mack. And we had a 3-way main event with Penta defeating Austin Aries and Ray Phoenix. But the talent that was featured was just excellent. These things work. These things are excellent. Now, yes, we've had some partnerships that failed over the years, and that's bound to happen, whether it's because of backstage politics, whether it's because talent just doesn't mesh. But for example, TNA and New Japan, that early on it didn't work, you know what I mean? And they're working with talent, it just, something wasn't clicking. Michinoku Pro and the WWF, that was just weird. Barely Legal 97 happened with ECW, and the Michinoku Pro talent on there worked, but for some reason it didn't work in the WWF. One of the big ones was TNA and Global Force Wrestling. Jeff Jarrett, after leaving TNA, started his own promotion, GFW, and this was going down with the power struggle with Dixie Carter, and for some reason it didn't click, and then GFW just disappeared. It was done. WCW and Gaia Japan and WWF and NWA just didn't work. These failures happen, and that's okay. We can have these failures, but it's about what you do with those failures. How do you bounce back? But then we have the best of the best, and I think when you start with the best, we really have to go with the very first All In. All right, All In featured talent from New Japan, Impact, AAA, MLW, the NWA, Ring of Honor, and without All In, we would not have AEW. All In was just a bet. It was the biggest independent wrestling show ever, and it still is the biggest independent wrestling show ever. They sold out the Sears Center. So that's a success. What was the card? What was, let's look at the results. We had 11 matches. We had 2 on the pre-show. So we had SCU defeating the Briscoe brothers. Big names right there. We had El Hijo del Chico winning a over the budget battle royal to earn a Ring of Honor World Championship match later in the evening. Who was in that over the budget battle royal besides El Chico and Bully Ray? Listen to these names: Moose, Brandon Cutler, Chucky T, Trent Beretta, Rocky Romero, Cheeseburger, The Hurricane, Ethan Page, Tommy Dreamer, Jimmy Jacobs, Punishment Martinez, aka Damian Priest, Austin Gunn, Billy Gunn, Marco Stunt, Brian Cage, Jordan Grace, and Cole Cabana. That was just on the pre-show. Main card, Matt Cross defeating MJF. SCU, Christopher Daniels with SCU defeating Stephen Amell. Tasha Blanchard defeating Britt Baker, Chelsea Green, and Madison Rain. Cody defeating Nick Aldis for the NWA World Championship. Hangman Page defeating Joey Janela in a street fight. Jay Lethal defeating Flip Gordon for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Kenny Omega defeating Penta. Kazuchika Okada defeating Marty Scurll. And of course the Golden Elite, Ibushi, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks teaming up to defeat Bandito, Rey Fenix, and Rey Mysterio. That was the first All In. I very much advise you all to go and check out the first All In. That's a successful show. That's how you do it. You come together, you make sure someone's in charge to help run it, and you just go. You push forward. What other successes have we had? So not just the events, but just the crossover promotions with New Japan and Ring of Honor working out, and it was all centered around the Bullet Club, but it was a thing of beauty. ECW and Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, WWE and Evolve worked so well that we're getting a new Evolve show, and we brought back in Johnny Gargano, and we worked with Dragon Gate. We had WCW New Japan. Now that one worked. We had secretly the WWF and ECW. So we've had great crossover shows. We've had great crossover events. Oh wait, you think we were done? Of course we weren't done. TNA, and you're going to hear this other company's name a lot, New Japan, they run the multiverse series of shows. First one was called Multiverse of Matches. Then we've had Multiverse United 1 and 2. I went to Multiverse United 2. That took place here in Philly. And essentially you get TNA versus New Japan Pro Wrestling. And ladies and gentlemen, they have shown that they can knock out of the park. And we only got 3, which hurts, and I know why we only got 3. We had one in the first one took place in 2022, and then we had 2 in 2023. And the reason we only got 3 is because, well, AEW showed up, and now AEW ends up working exclusively with New Japan, and TNA started working with WWE in 2024. But if you look at that first Multiverse of Matches show, Trey Miguel defeated Blake Christian, Chris Bay, Jordan Grace, Rich Swann, and Vincent in an Intergender Ultimate X match for the X Division Championship. Nick Aldis and Mickey James defeated Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green. Mike Bailey defeated Alex Shelley. The Influence team of Madison Rain and Tennille Dashwood defeated the Decay, which was Havoc and Rosemary. The team of Giselle Shaw and Lady Frost, and team of Savannah Evans and Tasha Steeles. This was for the Impact Knockouts World Tag Team Championship. Tomohiro Ishii defeated Eddie Edwards. Josh Alexander and Jonah, aka Big Bronson Reed, defeated Moose and PCO. Deonna Purrazzo defeated Fabi Apache. This was for the AAA Reina de Reinas Championship. Chris Sabin defeated Jay White, and in the main event, the Good Brothers defeated the Briscoe Brothers. That for me, that was a weird main event. I probably would have gone with Alexander and Jonah versus Moose and PCO, or Deonna Purrazzo versus Fabi Apache, or even Chris Sabin versus Jay White. So the Multiverse of Matches was good. I wish we got more, but I understand why we don't. See, TNA, they will work with anybody. The Multiverse didn't feature just New Japan and TNA. It was AAA, it was CMLL, it was Ring of Honor. So they know how to work together. And then obviously, very obviously, after All In, the best crossover show, and it's still going, has become an annual event, has been AEW New Japan Forbidden Door. Plain and simple. And it just worked. Now, the first one was a little awkward because we kind of put storylines on hold in AEW, but we then started making new stories with New Japan. And the first Forbidden Door went down in 2022, and it was a good show, not a super great show, and that's because there was a lot of injuries. We were supposed to get a couple big matches, and injuries just kind of hurt things. So, in the realm of New Japan, we had a lot of multi-man matches. You know what I mean? But on that main card, the first show, we had Minoru Suzuki and the Les Sex guys, Jericho and Sammy Guevara, defeat Eddie Kingston, Shota Umino, and Wheeler Yuta. We had FTR defeat the United Empire and Roppongi Vice in a winner-takes-all match for the Ring of Honor IWGP Tag Team Championships. We had Pac defeat Clark Casimiro and Malachi Black to crown the inaugural AEW All-Atlantic, now the International Championship. We had Darby, Sting, and Shingo Takagi defeat the Bullet Club. Yeah. Thunder Rosa defeated Toni Storm to retain the AEW Women's World Championship. Ospreay took on Orange Cassidy in one of the best matches you will ever see in your entire life. And we had Claudio Castagnoli sub in for Bryan Danielson to face Zack Sabre Jr. Jay White defeated Hangman, Kazuchika Okada, and Adam Cole to retain the IWGP Championship. This match was hampered by the injury, and Jon Moxley defeated Tanahashi to become the AEW Interim World Championship. And we knew we had something great coming. We knew there was something big coming, because even though the first Forbidden Door was good, the second one was better. And even though the second one was good and better than the first one, the third Forbidden Door was absolutely amazing. Let's take a look at that card. On the main card, MJF defeated Hachicero. Weird match. Okay, it's a weird way to start the show off, but then we had the Elite, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, and Okada defeat Scissor Lace, which was a weird match. Bryan Danielson and Shingo Takagi just wrestled a beautiful first show match in the Men's Owen Hart Cup. Toni Storm defeated Mina Shirakawa to retain the AEW Women's World Championship. Zack Sabre Jr. and Orange Cassidy just had a beautiful technical affair. Samoa Joe, Hook, and Shibata defeated the Learning Tree and Jeff Cobb. Jack Perry defeated Takeshita, Mark Briscoe, Dante Martin, Leo Rush, and El Phantasmo to win the vacant TNT Championship. Mercedes Moné defeated Stephanie Vaquera to win the New Japan Strong Women's Championship while keeping her TBS Championship. Naito defeated Mox to win the IWGP Championship. In the main event, Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, Swerve Strickland defeating Will Ospreay to retain the AEW World Championship. You see how important these shows are, because now we know when June rolls around, it is Forbidden Door season. Now, Forbidden Door is taking place a little bit later this year. It's taking place in late August. I'm going to check out the AEW events pay-per-view schedule for this year. But because we got that great showings in the Forbidden Door, it was no surprise when AEW announced Wrestle Dynasty. And Wrestle Dynasty was a show. The first one went down this past Sunday, and it featured talent of AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, CMLL, and Stardom. And an absolutely beautiful showing, and an absolutely fantastic show with great matches top to bottom. And I'm hoping we get another one next year. And Wrestle Dynasty came out after, it followed the day after Wrestle Kingdom. So now I got Wrestle Weekend. Kingdom on Saturday, Dynasty on Sunday. These joint shows work when you have companies that explicitly want to work together, that want to be a part of something big, something great. You make it happen. I wish we got more, but with the landscape of how things are, we're going to get what we can get. So I'm thankful that AEW and New Japan have this beautiful working relationship. I'm happy that TNA and NXT started working together. I just want a little bit more. But ladies and gentlemen, that is our show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Check on the screen what we got coming up. Going to try to stay on top of things. Definitely going to started getting these movie and TV reviews out on Instagram and all the other socials. Well, check out the socials. Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube. Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram. And of course, 215 on Twitter. And as always, Bailey, Isla Dawn, Gigi Dolan, Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Anna J. Holla at your boy. Peace.